Hey guys, welcome to a new video. In this video I will show you how you can build an algorithm visualizer app with Jetpack Compose. And algorithm visualizer means that we can simulate how a specific algorithm is working and we can show that in a visual way. So without any further to go, let me show you the app that we're gonna build. As you can see, this is the app, no navigation, only one screen. And basically the app we're gonna build today is for the insertion sort algorithm. And by watching this video, you will be able to build a visualizer for any other sorting algorithms. And we also have these control buttons at the bottom where we can just control the way that we sort this array. So let's actually start sorting by clicking on the start button. As you can see, it start sorting. We can pause. We can resume. We also can speed up the speed. As you can see, it got faster. We can slow it down. As you can see, let me just speed it up. And if we pause, we can actually click on this. We can actually click on this next step. And now this will only do one step. And if we click on the previous step, this also will do one previous step. Now let's actually make this at the maximum speed and see how the result will be. As you can see, everything just works. As you can see, the array got started. And before we get started, you need to download this initial project where I just prepared the colors and the themes that we're gonna use. And you will find the link of this project on my GitHub repository. You can download it from there. Other than that, we can actually start coding. So first of all, I would like to create a package. However, we're only gonna have one algorithm, but in case you wanna add more algorithms, you can just put them in this package. So algorithms, and inside this package, we're gonna implement the insertion sort. Now inside here, we can write the sort function. For the parameters, on the one hand, we of course want the array that want to get sorted. And we need a lambda function called onSwap that sends the new array every time we change an element. So onSwap, and this will send the array, so integer array, and we'll return nothing, so unit, and then we can actually implement the insertion sort in here. And I won't explain the insertion sort in details. I would recommend you to watch a video on YouTube. Before that, there are tons of videos that explain how the insertion sort works in details. That will take you less than 10 minutes, so I recommend you to watch that first. But let me go through that really quick. So how the insertion works, basically we need to have two loops with two pointers. The first pointer is I, which starts from index 1, and the second pointer is j, which starts from index 0. So every time we move the index I, we make sure that the subarray from index j until index 0 is sorted. And that's how the insertion sort works basically. So as I said, we're gonna have the first loop which starts from index 1, so I in 1 until the size. So we go through all the elements in the array, and here we can identify the second pointer, which is j, which equals I minus 1. Now we also want a value called key, which stores the element at index I. And now we can have the second loop. And in here we're gonna make sure first that j is not negative and the key is smaller than the element at I. So if these two conditions are satisfied, that means that the key can go to the left. So we're gonna make a swap now with the element at j plus 1 with the element at index j. And because we have made a swap, we can call the onSwap function and we can send the array, which is ARR. And after that, we can reduce the j value. We have made a mistake here. This would be the index at j. And outside of this loop, we're gonna make the real swap with the key. So let's do that. So ARR of j plus 1 is gonna be equal the key. And because we made another swap, we're gonna call it the onSwap function, and we're gonna send the array. And that's it for the insertion sort. Now close this and let's create our view model. So I would like to create algorithm view model. And for the constructor, we need the insertion sort. Now let's think about the states we want to have in this app. We first need the array state. So var arr equals mutable state of, and inside here we can have our integer array. And initially I would like to give it these values. You can write your own values, of course. And we also need val is playing. This will be mutable state of and initially false. And we're going to need val on sorting finish. Mutable state of also false. And we're gonna have private var for the delay. And initially I would like to give it 150 milliseconds. And one more that we need is a private var sorted array levels. This is gonna equal a mutable list of, and this immutable list gonna have list of integers. So this one is used to save the array with only one change. You will see that now. Now I'm gonna use the init block, and in here I'm gonna launch view model scope dot launch. Then we're gonna sort our array. So insertion sort dot sort. And first we need to pass the array, but this time we're gonna pass a copy of this array. So value.clone, because you know arrays are passed by reference and we don't want to modify on the original array. For that we pass a clone of that array. And then we have the onSwap function, which gives us an array with only one modified value. So here modified array, and each time we get a modified array, we will put it inside the sorted array levels. So let's do that. Sorted array levels dot add. We're gonna add the modified actually. So modified array, but this takes a list, so we can convert it to a list, to mutable list. Now we can write the functions for the app events. So what event is just one interaction, one user interaction. So how many user interactions do we have in this app? We have 5 interactions. The first one is the slow down button when we click on slow down. Second one is to play and pause the sorting algorithm. This one is to speed up the speed, and this one to get to the previous array, and this one to get to the next array. So let's actually have a class. So I would like to organize that inside a class, seal the class, and call this algorithm events. Now for each event or for each interaction, I would like to have an object. So the first event is the slow down, and this is gonna extend from the algorithms events. The second one is for the play and pause. I'm gonna also extend from the algorithm events. We also have the speed up, and for the previous, and for the next. Now get back to the view model, and here we can have a function on event, and inside the parameter we're gonna have our event, which is from the algorithms events. And here we can make a check using when block. So with the event, let me change this to event. So when this event is algorithms events dot play pause, we will call the play pause function. So play pause algorithm, and we're gonna create that. And when this event is algorithms event dot slow down, we're gonna call this function, which is slow down. And when it's speed up, we're gonna call the speed up function. And when it's the previous click, so previous, we're going to call the previous, create that. And finally, when it's the next, so we're gonna call the next function. Now let's start implementing these functions. The first one is play pause algorithm. So here we're gonna have a check if is playing dot value. If this is true, then we know that the sorting algorithm is playing now and we want to pause it. So we're gonna call the pause function. Gonna create that. Else than that, we can call the play or start function. So I'm gonna call it play. And then we change the isPlaying value to the opposite of it. So isPlaying.value. So in the play function, we will launch a coroutine scope. And whenever we click on a play, that means we want to cancel the pause, the previous pause. So for that, let's actually have a pause var here, private var pause. This equals false initially. And whenever we play the algorithm, we will make this pause also false. Then for each array inside our sorted array levels, we will put it inside this immutable list so our composable get notified. So let's do that. In here we can have for function for I in 0 until sorted array levels dot size. So we go through all the arrays inside that array, and now if it's not paused, we can actually add a delay here. So delay with our delay, import that, and we can change the state of our array. Value equals sorted array levels of index I to integer array, because this receives integer array. Else than that, then we know that the user clicked on pause. So when the user click on pause, we wanna save the state of our array. So to do that, we gonna need to have one additional variable here, which is private var sorting state. Initially this equals to 0. So whenever we pause, we want to make the sorting state equals to I. And then we can return. Then we're gonna change the 0 to sorting state. So this is how we can actually save the state of the array when we pause it. So we can just save at which index we reached and then continue from that index whenever the user resume the sorting. Then when we actually finish the sorting, we can call the on sorting finish.value and make it true. Let's now move to the pause function. In here we're gonna only change the pause variable to true. That's it. Now for the speed up function, we can just increase the delay by 50 milliseconds, or you can add 100. For the slowdown, we first want to check if the delay is greater or equal to 100 milliseconds. So this would be our limit. Then we can actually reduce the delay by 50 milliseconds. So delay minus equals 50. And for the next and the previous functions, we first want to have some more variables here. Private var next, this equals to 0. And for the previous, this equals to 0. Oh, this equals to 1. The next is 1. And inside the next function, we first want to make sure that the next is smaller than the size. So here sorted ARR levels dot size. If this is the case, then we can actually have our ARR state dot value, and we can change it to the sorted array levels. We can get the next index and we convert it to integer array. Then we can increase the next and also increase the previous. Inside the previous function, now we can have another check here, but this time if the previous is greater or equal than 0, then we can again change our array state. Sorted array levels of index previous dot to integer array, and we can reduce the next and the previous. That's it for the next and previous. We're pretty much done with the view model, but there's one thing is missed, which is when we handle the pause click. So in here we're gonna also need to change the next equals to I plus 1 and the previous equals to I. And that's it for the view model. Hopefully we have not forget anything. And now let's go to the design part. Let's go and create a new package. And I'm gonna call it components. Inside this package, we first gonna have the bottom bar that's gonna host the control buttons. So visualizer bottom bar, and this will be a file. Create that, and we're gonna have our composable here. Face bottom bar. For the parameters, we first want to have a modifier which equals default modifier. This one. We import it. Can delete this now. Now we want to have callback for our events, so I'm going to write it as lambda functions. So play, pause, click. This will send nothing and return a unit. We also need slow down click. This will also return nothing. Speed up click. Previous click. And finally next click. We need is playing, which is boolean equals to false initially, and we can open curly brackets. So as you can see, this will just be a bottom app bar. So let's do that. Bottom app bar. We will give the modifier. Let me put them in a separated lines, and I would like to change the background color to material theme. This one. Dot colors dot surface. So as you can see, these elements are arranged by a row. So let's do that. Can have a row. First, the modifier equals modifier dot fill max with vertical alignment center vertically, and horizontal arrangement equals to space evenly. And this means that the space between the icons are equivalent. Now inside this row we can actually have our icons. So the first one is icon button, and this is for the slow down icon. For the painter, it's gonna be painter resource r to the drawable dot import the r dot horizontal. Content description is slow down. We can add a tint, which is material theme dot colors dot on surface. Now on the click, we can remove this and make it equal to slow down click. Now we can copy this, paste it down below, and this one for the play, pause click. Now for the painter resource, we're gonna have to make a check. So if it's not playing, then we will show the play icon. So r.drawable.play. Else than that, we will show the pause icon. And we can change the content description to play pause. Now we paste it one more time. This one for the speed up. This time we will not use a painter, we can just use image vector and get that icon from the icons.default.add, and we can change this to speed up. Copy this, paste it down below twice, and this one is for the previous click, and for the icon is arrow back. This one. Content description is previous step. And the last one for the next. So next click here, forward arrow. Content description is next click. That's it for our bottom bar. Now we can create the visualizer section, this one, where we'll show our array items. So let's do that. I'm gonna create another file and call this one visualizer section, and inside here gonna have a composable function visualizer section. For the parameters, we're gonna need a modifier. Oops, again, import it. And we're gonna need the array, so arr, which is an integer array, and that's it. Now in here, we're gonna have a box with constraints. So this will just give us the max width and max height of our box. So we'll assign the modifier here. And now we can get the maximum height of this box, which is this area. So val max height equals max height minus 75. So this 75 dB is gonna be the height of the bottom bar. So we just subtract it in here. And we also gonna have the item width. This one equals remember block, because we don't want to calculate it on every composition. We can calculate it once. And this equals max width over the array size, ar.size minus 8.db. So each item width of this array element equals the max width of our box. We divide this on the array size, and this 8 is for the margin of, or for the space between each element. And now we can have a row. We're gonna have a modifier equals the passed modifier. Gonna have horizontal arrangement of arrangement dot space between. So space between will make sure that the elements are pushed at the first and at the end of the row. And we can have a vertical alignment. We can set that to the bottom. And I set that to the bottom because we want to show each element from the bottom to the top. So if you don't do that, your elements will be from the top to the bottom. So make sure to make this alignment bottom. And now we can have for each. So we get each element of our array, and for each element we can represent it by a box and put it in a line. We can apply modifier dot height. Now one problem that I have faced while I was building this app is when the array item value is higher than our maximum height. So that means it will go out of the screen, and that made a problem, so it just pushed this bottom up bar to the bottom, so it went invisible. And one way to avoid this problem is by using if statement, and we check if it.db is greater than the maximum height. So that means that the array element is greater than this box height. In this case, we will just set it to the max height. So it will just goes up all the way like this element to the end of the screen, no matter what its value. Else than that, we will just set its value. So it.db. Then we'll apply a width, which is item width. Finally, background, which is material theme dot colors dot secondary. And that's actually it. Now finally we put these composables together inside our main activity. Let's do that. First of all, we want to have our view model, and I won't use Dagger Hilt in this, so I will just use view model provider factory. So let's create a class for that. So algorithm view model provider. This will extend from the view model provider.factory, and we forgot to pass our insertion sort. So private var insertion sort, and here we can just override this function, and we can return an instance from our view model. Then we can pass the insertion sort, and we can cast this as T. We get back to the main activity, and let's have our view model instance. So private val view model, which is algorithm view model, and I will initialize it by lazy. So in here, we're first gonna have an instance from the view model provider factory, which equals algorithm. Oops, my keyboard is broken. This one that we have just created, and we will pass an instance of the insertion sort class. Then we can use the view model provider class to create our view model instance. Pass this and pass the instance. Then you pass the class of your view model. And now finally we can have a box. Gonna take modifier.fillMax screen, fillMax size. We can also add a background to this box from the material themes .colors.background, and the content will actually be at the bottom center. So as you can see, we show the bottom bar at the bottom, so that's why I used this content alignment here. And now we will have a column, which is gonna first have the visualizer section, and here we're gonna pass our array. We can get it from the view model .arr.value. Then we can pass a modifier equals modifier.fillMaxWidth, and here we can have val is playing equals the view model is playing, and for the other state, which is finished, equals view model on sorting finish. Then we can call the this bottom app bar. And here we have our clicks. So in the play pause click, we just gonna call the view model on event. We pass algorithm events this is play pause. So you see how easy is it when you just put everything in its place. So this is very easy. And now we call on event algorithm events slow down. Gonna copy this, paste it, this time for the speed up, and here for the previous, and finally for the next click. After that, we can apply our modifier. So modifier equal modifier, fillMax width, and we can add the height, which is 57. Then we can finally pass the is playing, and we here can make a check is finished. Then we can pass the opposite of is finished. Else than that, we will pass is playing. Is finished. We have a problem. Yeah, we forgot to get the value. So here value and here value. And that's it. Let's run our app. Hopefully everything works. So let's see. Okay, as you can see, at least we're able to represent our array elements. Let's click on the start, and yes, it started sorting. Pause, it's working. Increase. Okay, this increased the delay actually. It's okay. Let's speed up. Okay, so this is the speed up and this is the slow down. We can change that, or you can change it. Now let's check the previous and next. Okay, that also works. That is fantastic. Everything works. And one more thing is the color of this icon. We can actually change it to white. Let's do it. So in here, we can go to play pause and we can change this to color.white just to make it look as the original app. And yup, that looks fine. Okay guys, so that was all for this video. I hope you like it. I hope you learned something new. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me on Instagram. The link is in the description. So thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Catch you in the next video.